Did some balls this afternoon.
Usually I go an hour with questions.
Yeah, sure. No.
So at least you got the 1 night separation.
I want to go in there. I got some dental problems.
Yes,
I have one question.
Shoot.
I donate my job. Big tree. That was a rock.
Big Trish, yes.
It was?
No. You want that right answer or Andy?
What happened?
So we're kicking off what's ficus and the rosewood. Some of it is for renovation. The other is there are problem trees that are in bad areas, and we have until I think mid-June for recreation tracks are impacted by Palm Beach County building planning zone. So if we do it now, we don't need to do permits, we don't have to do hire engineers, tree studies, and surveys. So if we get rid of them now, we don't have to do that.
You do a lot of them?
There's 5 rosewoods, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ficus. And then Dapa is removed from 1. Yeah, about 7 trees plus the rosewoods. Yeah, 7 right trees. They were large. There was 2 ficus on the one side of hole 1, one on the back, 2 in the middle of the fairway. All the way to the left. All the way to the left. Oh, we shouldn't be over there. But the ones on the right, those rosewoods against the condos, those are bad. Yeah. And they were over the condos. But the root beds down below. So we'll get all that. We're just going to grind it down for now. We get into the renovation. For now, yeah. We get into a renovation, then we'll really.
Actually, the one down there right off Legend. That's good. I've been over there a couple times. It's hard to hit me on that tree.
And it's hard to grow grass under those trees too. So, for the most part, it's really just the Palm Beach County zoning change, because now the recreation track is going to have to conform to a different code. So we're just getting it out of the way before it costs a whole bunch of money.
That's clear.
Yeah, that's the official reason. If somebody said, "Oh, it's disease,"
Sounds good, yeah. Good out there this morning. It had not, it's been a long time since
Just so you know,
the phone wall, and he went to the tail end of that.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you can start making your way to your seats, we're going to get started in just a moment. Testing. Better. Good afternoon, Glen Eagles. It's such a pleasure to see everyone here today. I think I know most of you. I'm Kristen Lariah, the Director of Membership and Marketing, and it is my pleasure to have you here for the Hurricane Preparedness Lecture. Before we get started, I'm going to introduce two people. So our presenter will be Michael Jankowski, who is an Emergency Management Specialist with Palm Beach County. So Michael will be giving the majority of this presentation today. And I also wanted to introduce our Property Manager, Michael Eustace. This is the Michael Show, apparently, today. and Michael's going to tell you a little bit about our hurricane plan at Glen Eagles before we get started. So thank you all for coming.
Good afternoon. Those of you who have been in Florida during a hurricane, just briefly, some of the things that happen, our staff, when we go under a warning, we have certain criteria for when we start to do things. Closing down the clubhouse, removing all the furniture from the pools. I think the very last minute, you'll see the gate arms come off. We do have security 24/7, just so you know. In the event of a hurricane, Tom West is back here. His staff will stay in the clubhouse. basically, after hurricanes pass, there's a lot of prep that we do on our side, getting chainsaws and equipment and things ready. We try to keep the roads clear for emergency vehicles and, you know, the inevitable flooding, and try to make sure we get the water evacuated from the property. So we do quite a bit to lower the lakes and keep the water out so we can handle rain. And then after the storm is getting the roads clear. We are here, our staff, we're here as soon as we can. Depending on what time the storm comes, it doesn't matter, day or night. If I get here, I'm 7 miles from here, I live in Boca. I'll get here as soon as I can. A lot of our staff is very close, they're very dedicated. We'll get here as quick as we can to start getting, if a tree falls in front of a condo and you have to get through the walkway, any type of that's going on. The numbers for security are in here, make sure you call them. Tom will start running things if we are extended power, which we've had once or twice. I think we had 10 days at one time. This building now is generator. It's not a shelter, but for comfort, we will have a whole protocol that Kristen will e-blast and do certain things that you come in, cool off, charge your phone, water. We have a whole policy and procedure of things that we offer here in the event of long power outages. I know from the DCC that most of you are putting in generators that have a home. So if you live in a condo, make sure you become friends with somebody there. I strongly recommend that. Because it is no fun. But FPNL has done a lot. If you've noticed along the entire west side of the golf course, they did do a hardening project 2 years ago. So they buried now all the power lines that come across our property, which is a big help in the event of a storm. So with that, those are basic things. Just name to a face. If you have anything, feel free to call my office. And in the event of a storm, make sure you get hold of Tom and security, and we will support you in any way we can. Okay? Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, awesome. I like to walk around a lot when I speak, so I'm going to go a little bit mobile. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Jankowski. I am with the Palm Beach County Division of Emergency Management. I work at the EOC. And today we're going to talk about some hurricane preparedness and what you can do to get ready for the coming season. And my clicker does not want to work. All right, I'll do it the hard way. So, what is emergency management? Well, emergency management is the managerial functions charged with creating frameworks with which communities reduce vulnerability to hazards and cope with disasters. What that basically means is we're not just the hurricane people. We handle a lot of different types of emergencies or disasters that might happen in the community. And our mission at Palm Beach County is to minimize the impact of emergencies and disasters to our community through education, planning, and response by coordinating information and resources. So part of that is what I'm out here doing for you folks. So we approach emergency management by what we call a whole community approach. That means that it's everybody that gets involved to help us get back to a sense of normalcy or to recover after disaster happens. The whole community includes first responders. These are our police officers, our deputies, our paramedics, our firefighters. Local government, 39 municipalities in Palm Beach County, and we like to partner with each and every one of them. Businesses and private sector. This is your stores, Home Depots, Publix, places where you're going to go to get supplies before and after something should happen. And then, of course, there's the public, and that's you. And you do have a part in helping us, and we'll talk about that. So, as I said, we're more than just the hurricane people. Palm Beach County has recognized there's 12 core hazards that could actually affect Palm Beach County. And we've broken it down into 3 different categories. Natural hazards, such as severe weather, flooding, wildfires, communicable diseases or agricultural diseases. Your technological hazards, transportation. We have 3 major airports within, an hour and a half of our area, plus all the smaller, plus all the railroads, the turnpike. Nuclear power plants on the list. Well, you might say, Mike, we don't have a nuclear power plant in Palm Beach County. And you'd be right. But there is one in St. Lucie County, and should something happen up there, we are what we call a receiving county. We're a reception center county for people that need to shelter from something that might happen. Human-caused hazards, work and school-place violence, unfortunate reality in today's world. Again, we just happened to see that on the news up in Buffalo, New York. Domestic security and mass migration. So you can see that it's much more than just hurricanes and weather that we have to worry about or think about. So what is a hurricane? A hurricane is, by definition, a rotating storm with high-speed winds that form over warm waters in the ocean. Hurricane season, of course, starts June 1st and goes until November 30th. But the key thing to remember here is hurricanes don't necessarily pay attention to the calendar, do they? Yeah. Matter of fact, in the last, I think they said 4 or 5 years, we've actually had some type of a system that stirred up before the hurricane season. Matter of fact, I remember in 2015, we actually had one that started in January. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that storm now, but it was in January. It was subtropical, and it didn't affect anything, but it can happen. So let's talk about watches and warnings. What is the difference? A tropical storm or a hurricane watch means that the sustained winds are possible within the watch area within 48 hours. If it's a hurricane watch or warning, that means that those conditions are expected within the next 36 hours. The big thing to remember here, though, is there's a huge difference between these types of watches and warnings and those everyday typical severe thunderstorm watch, flood watch, tornado watch. Those are a lot more imminent. Those are the ones that's like we want to go inside and take shelter for right away. The two on the top, those are giving us room to finish up some preparedness things that we might have to do. So everyone's familiar with the hurricane scale, the wind scale. Saffir-Simpson, they call it, and it goes from category 1 to category 5, and then it shows the speed of the different winds. When we talk about this scale, the category scale, we're only talking about the winds that are involved in that storm, not necessarily the amount of rain or storm surge or anything else that might happen. So, but you can see what the possible damages are. But here's the big thing to remember. It does not have to be a hurricane in order for it to be dangerous. It was around in 2012 for Isaac. If you remember in 2012, Isaac didn't even touch us. It just kind of went south through the Florida Straits. I think it brushed the Keys, didn't even touch Palm Beach County, and it was just a tropical storm. But look how much rain it dropped in Loxahatchee. Almost 16 inches of rain, almost 14 inches in Boynton Beach. So you can see what I'm getting at is even tropical storms can dump a lot of rain. We had the same thing happen in 2020 when Eta came through. Eta was that big storm that hit Honduras and Central America, and then it took a hook and came towards us. By the time it got to Palm Beach County, it was a tropical storm. But the problem was we had such a wet autumn that we had a lot of rain on the ground already, and it did cause some flooding. So the main takeaway here is when you hear someone say it's just a tropical storm, just let them know, hey, you got to take those just as serious and prepare just as much as you would for anything else. Speaking of flooding, storm surge is actually the most dangerous part of a tropical system. What storm surge is a sudden rising of the water and it pushes onto the shore. This is where we see the most damage and the most injuries. If you remember Hurricane Michael back in 2018 up in the Panhandle, a lot of the damage that we saw from Michael was actually from that storm surge, that sudden push of water that's just taking a lot of things and damaging. When you see flooding water, we want you to make sure that you don't drive through or walk through water. 6 inches of water is enough, if it's rushing, is enough to knock you off your feet. If you ever walk across the shore down on the beach and you're kind of walking right along, and what happens when the tide comes in? Kind of knocks you off your feet a little bit. It's the same thing. 12 inches of water is enough to carry away a small car. And 18 to 24 inches of water, 2 feet of water, can actually move an SUV. The bottom line here is when you see water covering a road or a sidewalk, it's best to turn around, find a different way to get to where you're going. In other words, we always tell people, turn around, don't drown. It's much better to find an alternate way. You don't know what hazards are lurking under the water, and you don't know how deep the water is either. In the event that you see flooding in your community, best thing to do, notify your HOA, notify your property manager, notify your local government, or call 911 if it's an absolute emergency. So Palm Beach County has come up with 4 steps for you to take to be prepared for the hurricane season. We want you to make a plan, build a kit, get involved, and be informed. And we're going to talk about each one of these 4 steps. So making a plan means knowing your hazards, knowing what zone you live in, and having a communication plan. It's really driving me crazy that I can't walk around, I can't use my clicker. So knowing your hazards, what exactly does this mean? Well, first of all, let's talk about our town. Let's talk about our local community. Do you maybe know somebody that might even live on a barrier island that might be in a hurricane zone or a flood zone? How about the neighborhood? Do you have retention ponds, maybe in your backyard? How about debris? This time of year, we like to see our landscapers going around and they start kind of trimming back the trees and the bushes. Well, what do? They leave the stuff on the side of the road, right? Waiting for another company to come and pick that up. Well, if it's not picked up in time and the winds pick up, that stuff that's laying on the side of the road can be considered flying debris. It gets caught up with it. So we want to know if that's a fact and should we do something with it. How about our homes? Do we have older homes? Do we have older windows, doors? What about our roof? Did you recently have work done on a house that you haven't done your roof inspection yet? Family vulnerabilities. Do you have people that are elderly? How about children or pets? These are people and pets that we need to think about. Medical conditions. They're all things that we like to consider when we're considering our own hazards. We talked about knowing your zone. Now there's 2 different types of zones in Palm Beach County. One is a flood zone, and one is a hurricane evacuation zone. Can anyone tell me what the difference is? Sorry? Well, both you would want to leave those if you think about it. So an evacuation zone is primarily along the coast, along the Atlantic coast and around Lake Okeechobee, and some what we call substandard construction housing, like mobile home parks, the older homes that are built before Andrew, that type of thing. Some of those are what we consider in hurricane evacuation zones. Flood zones are areas that are prone to flooding water, such as I mentioned in Boynton Beach or Loxahatchee that received all of that rain. To know if you're in either one of these zones or both, you can go to readypbc.com, type in your address, and it will tell you right there if you're in one of these zones. Now I will show you, because we were talking about when I got here, I did the work for you. Oops. All right, my computer's not behaving. So I punched in the address for the clubhouse, which is primarily going to cover the entire area. And both hurricane evacuation zone and flood zone, this area is not in either one of those zones. Yeah, people get all very, very happy when they hear that. Okay. So the next part of making a plan is knowing if you need to evacuate, where do you go and how do you get there? We have 2 phrases that we like to use in emergency management. One is run from the water, hide from the wind. What this essentially means is we tell those that are living along that coast, the hurricane evacuation zone, they need to run from the water, that storm surge, that most dangerous part of the system. For everyone else, you're safe just hiding from the wind, sheltering in place. The other thing that we tell people is evacuate miles, not hundreds of miles. So you see this picture on the screen here? This was taken during Hurricane Irma. When Irma was coming up the spine of the state, they said it was going to be a big storm. Everyone was like, this is going to be a big one. People started panicking and they were working on getting out of Palm Beach County. They wanted to go north or they wanted to go west. to get away from the storm. This is a picture that was actually taken during that evacuation. This traffic isn't moving. What happened was because so many people were leaving, traffic got tied up. They got stuck. Some people ran out of gas. Some people ran out of fuel or food and other supplies. Well, what happened when Irma got closer?
Went the other way.
Irma saw where the party was going and said, I'm going this way. Now these people were stuck in harm's way. So the key takeaway here is, if you're going to evacuate, we want you to think about evacuating just miles, locally. Perhaps at a friend's house or a family member that lives further inland. Maybe a hotel if you can. Or one of our hurricane evacuation shelters. Remember though, if you do go to a hurricane evacuation shelter, space will be limited. We limit it to 20 square feet a person. That's about a 5 foot by 4 foot box. Basically enough room to fit me and some of my basic supplies for a few days. The evacuation shelters are designed what we call as a lifeboat. We're just going to be there for a few days until everything passes and you get back into your home. So that's why we tell folks, if you're going to go, pack for just a few of the small things. We do have 2 special programs in Palm Beach County. One is our special needs shelter, and the other one is a pet-friendly shelter. So the special needs shelter is established for people with specific medical needs, such as somebody that's on oxygen, somebody that's on an IV pump, those folks that live at home and require things like electricity. The pet-friendly shelter is for our fur babies, because we know if we're going to go to a shelter, we want to make sure that our pets are also taken care of and they're somewhere safe too, right? So both of these programs, you do have to pre-register for. The special needs shelter program is available at readypbc.com or the phone number that's on your screen. I also have, I believe it's the green flyer that's on the table that'll also talk about the special needs shelter program and how you can register. The pet-friendly shelter is operated through Animal Care and Control, and their website is on the screen and their phone number is here as well. Now, if you need this, you can always call my office and we'll direct you to the right place. The key takeaway here is make sure that if you're going to register for either one, you have to do it early. Don't wait until something's about ready to come, because then there's a lot of processing paperwork and a lot of people wait until that last minute. We want to make sure that we get people in and we know what needs that person is going to need. Make sense? I mentioned a communication plan. You want to know, make sure that you know how you're going to stay in touch with people when normal everyday communications should go down. Our telephones, the internet, our cell phones. Be sure to include out-of-town family in this plan. How many of you have family and friends that live out of Florida? A lot of us do. The reason this is so important to me is in 2004, who was here for that season? 04 season. Yeah, your hand went up really fast, you remember. I was still living up in Ohio. My mom, my dad, and my brother were living down here in Lantana. Well, the first storm came through, they sheltered in place, managed to get through the storm. A couple days later, I was able to call them, talk to them, hear how they were. A week or so later, second storm comes through. Same thing. I start making phone calls, but this time there's no answer. I tried the house phone and 3 different cell phones. There was no answer. Now I'm in panic mode. All I see is what the news is reporting, and they always report the bad side of things. So now I don't know what to do. Day or so goes by, and I finally get a phone call from my dad. What had happened was during the first storm, there was damage to the roof that they didn't know. When the second storm was coming is when the damage was spotted. My brother, who was living with them, made the command decision that they were going to park this to the shelter. They forgot to call us. So you can see what I'm talking about, where that panic mode comes in. And I understand that there's a lot of moving parts if we're in evacuation. Simple tip is, take your cell phone and change your voicemail. You can simply go, hi, this is Luke, I'm going to a shelter, I'll call you when I can. And that's it. This way, if the cell phone service goes out, when somebody calls your phone, it's still going to go to voicemail, so they're still going to get an idea of where you are to know that you're okay. Make sure you have, a list of telephone numbers and email addresses with you on paper. Because I guarantee you, if I walked around the room and asked somebody to give me 3 telephone numbers, you probably couldn't do it. We're so reliant on this for our phone number, am I right?
Yes.
So it's important that you have those numbers written down. Put them somewhere safe, such as your supply kit that we're going to talk about shortly, just in case that you need to make those phone calls. List of meeting places. This is very good, especially for some of those other situations that might happen where it's important that we need to get together. We need to get together and meet now so we know everybody's safe. Maybe you can't go home, but can you come to the clubhouse? Can you go to your local church? Can you go to a local school or something like that? Just places that you know that everybody can meet should something happen. Big thing here is practice the plan often. Take one weekend out of the month and say, all right, we're going to do our telephone tag exercise this week. Just make sure we know that everything works. After a disaster passes and we're getting back to normal, make sure that you let family and friends know that you're safe. Facebook has it. I'm pretty sure some of the other social medias have it too, but it's a mark safe. I'm sure you've seen those mark safe from Hurricane Ida or I mark safe from whatever. A lot of those social media sites do have that, and I highly recommend using that so that you can let people know that you're safe. So the second step was to build a kit. Now in our emergency supply kit, we're going to have some essentials, some important documents, and some specialty items. What do you want to put in your kit? Well, first thing is going to be water. We used to tell people do a gallon a day per person per day for 3 to 5 days. We realized that it's better to just do 5 days just to be safe. So for those of you that have heard 3 to 5 and now you see 5, that's why. It was just a small change. But we do recommend 1 gallon per person per day, plus your pets. So don't forget that. Canned foods and snacks. And if you're going to get canned goods, don't forget the can opener. You're going to be really, really upset if you can't open your can of corn because you don't forgot your can opener. Or better still, when you go to Publix, look for those pop-top cans. I love those. Prescriptions and over-the-counter medications. Make sure that you have your medicine with you, whether it's your prescription medication or even some over-the-counter medicine such as aspirin, Tylenol, cough medicine, allergy medication, or anything else that you might use for pain. I put Florida Statute 252.358. Does anyone know what this is? So in the event that we are under a tropical storm watch or warning, and the governor declares a state of emergency. So those 2 things have to be in place first. What the governor will do, usually, is also put in place this 358. This means that in those conditions, you can go to your pharmacy and get another 30-day prescription refill, even if you just got it filled yesterday. It's more important that you have your medication than worrying about insurance and stuff like that. Am I right? Battery-powered radio or one of those hand crank radios. Those things are a lifesaver. Flashlights and batteries, of course. Personal hygiene supplies. Baby wipes. Something that you can just kind of bathe yourself if you need to, because we want to make sure that we're keeping ourselves healthy and clean. Books and games. This is going to be especially important, especially for anyone that has kids or grandkids that are going to be around. Because if the power is out and cable is out and there's nothing for kids to do, they're going to get
Crazy.
crazy. They're going to get rambunctious. And they're also going to get on our last nerves. Because it's going to be a tense situation. And I understand that. So by having things like coloring books and crayons, puzzles, board games, card games, something that'll keep everybody occupied while you're waiting for power to come back on or for cable to come back, that's a big thing to have. Baby formula. Wow, okay. I didn't think about that one, I'm sorry. Baby food. And diapers. Don't forget to put those in. Pet food. Again, I mentioned our babies. Make sure that you have pet food. Make sure you have your medicine for your pets too. If they have certain medication, like flea medication or heartworm or all of that stuff. Paper products and plastic utensils. In the event power's out, we're not going to be able to do our dishes, right? This is going to be important to have the paper products, plastic utensils so that we can eat and we don't have to worry about how we're going to clean everything up afterwards. But also don't forget garbage bags too. And then I have cash on here. So why is cash important? ATM machines may be out, exactly. If power is out, the internet's out, ATMs are out, we're not gonna be able to use our credit cards. But stores are going to open as soon as they can. If a store is on a generator, or a gas station is on a generator, they're gonna open as fast as they can. This is so that they can take care of you, so that they can get you those supplies that you need. But if all you have is a credit card, you're gonna be out of luck. This is why it's important to have some extra cash on hand. Make sure you have it in small bills, 5s, 10s, 20s, something like that, something that's gonna be easy for them to make change. How much cash did you have? Really a judgment call. I would kind of say whatever you would spend in cash on a normal week and maybe double it or triple it just to be safe. Wouldn't be such a bad thing to have, but make sure you have all of that. Important documents to have in your emergency kit. Identification. Now I recommend having 2 pieces of identification. 1, like your driver's license or state ID, and 2 is a utility bill. In the event, and you heard it mentioned at the beginning, the HOA is going to try and get everybody going and getting everyone back home and safe and everything. But if there is damage, the police are going to keep people away for 2 reasons: safety, and they don't want looters. So they're going to want to make sure, do you really live here? Let me see. You have your driver's license and a utility bill that shows that you live here. They're going to be more inclined to let you in, of course. Insurance card, medical insurance, big thing to make sure you have a copy of. Don't wait until the last minute. Homeowners, renters, flood insurance policies. Make sure that you have a copy of all of these. And while we're on flood insurance, how many of you have flood insurance for your homes? How many of you have flood insurance for your home? I see a lot of hands. Awesome. Make sure that for the hands that didn't go up, you really want to consider having flood insurance. Flood insurance is not normally part of your homeowners or your renters insurance. And it's pennies on the dollar. It's not expensive to add. Even though you're not in a flood zone, and I get that, you don't know when you're going to still get some standing water or some rising water. Just a little bit of water in our home is enough to cause some serious issues. So make sure you have the flood insurance. Keep in mind, flood insurance does take 30 days to go into effect from the day that you buy it. So if you buy it today, what's today, this 18th, 19th, 17th? If you buy flood insurance today, it won't go into effect until June 17th. So talk to your insurance agent. What else is on here? A list of your medications. Always good to have, both prescription and non-prescription. Just have a list so that you know what you need to get when you go to the store, or if you send somebody to the store for you. A copy of legal documents. Maybe a copy of a will, maybe a birth certificate, marriage certificate, any of those legal documents that you have, a copy of your mortgage, a copy of your renter's agreement, or anything like that. Pictures and other family memorabilia that's important for you. Stuff that you don't want to lose. Make sure that you have that. And a great place to put some of this stuff is the dishwasher. Dishwashers, by design, keep the water in, right? So by design, they're going to keep the water out. So you can put stuff in there, just unplug it, put stuff in there, and you'll be safe. What's that? I know. Somebody mentioned that to me one time, and I'm like, I like that idea. I'm using it. Lastly, I have pictures of the house and your property. Why is this important? You want to make sure that you take pictures just before a storm comes, so that if you should sustain damage to your roof or to the siding or wherever, you can actually go to your insurance company and go, look, here's a picture of before, here's a picture after. It wasn't pre-existing. This will help you in the insurance claim process to make sure that it goes a lot faster. Take pictures of everything. Take pictures of serial numbers on televisions, on appliances. Like I said, the house, car, anything and everything that is something that will have value to you, take as many pictures as you want. Cameras these days on our phones will take a ton of pictures. Okay, step 3 was getting involved. This is where, remember when I said at the beginning, the whole community involves the public, right? This is where you guys come in. You want to think about volunteering with an organization that specializes in emergency management, such as Palm Beach County Emergency Management. We have an intern program, and we have a volunteer program. What about community emergency response teams? How many of you have heard of CERT? A couple of hands. CERT is one of my favorite programs. I actually am the program manager for Palm Beach County CERT. CERT is just, it's people like you. It's volunteers who go out into the community to help with preparedness and to help being those first responders, if you will, should something happen. Giving first aid, making sure everybody's safe and healthy and okay. We're constantly doing CERT programs and CERT training, and it's something that I really highly recommend and encourage communities to think about implementing if they don't have them. We also have the Salvation Army, amateur radio. Do I have any amateur radio operators? No? I love amateur radio for a reason. I'm going to go back to Irma. As Irma was approaching, we lost one of our radio towers, and cell phones weren't working. Somebody in Boynton Beach was having a medical condition, couldn't call 911. So what did they do? Is they went to their amateur radio operator and said, hey, can you reach, get me some help? Their amateur radio operator was able to call just via a ham radio to our operator at the EOC and get them an ambulance before the winds came and they weren't able to respond. So I love that program. But there's also the United Way, American Red Cross, and so many other organizations that you can get involved in and help. Getting involved also means helping with our neighbors. We've all heard the term neighbors helping neighbors. This is a good example of where you can help your neighbors. Helping them prepare. How about checking on their emergency supplies? There's about 60 people in the room. How many people live in the whole community? 1,082 properties. That's a lot of people that aren't here. And I know that there's going to be people that are watching on YouTube also. But how many of your neighbors can you go to and say, hey, I'm going to Publix. Do you need extra water? Or do you need extra this? Or do you need a ride to the store? Or have you signed up for one of the special needs shelters? Great ways to help. How about helping them evacuate? If somebody says, no, I'm out of here. I'm going to the special needs shelter with mom because I need to know that we're going to have power. Can you help them with that evacuation process? And then how about helping after the storm? Can you again go to your neighbor and say, is everybody okay in here? I'm going to go to the store and get more water. Do you need anything? Can I help you take your shutters down or open your shutters? Remember that it's important that those shutters come down as soon as possible. Because again, if you had an emergency inside, such as fire broke out, the fire department can't get through those shutters real easily. So the faster you get them down, it's a public safety positive for you. Our fourth step was being informed. So how can you stay informed? Signing up for Alert PBC, listening to your local media, downloading our DART app, and following us on social media. So let's talk about Alert PBC first. How many in the room are signed up for Alert PBC? Uh-oh. How many are going to sign up for Alert PBC when I'm done? Cool. You don't even know what it does. You're going to love this. So Alert PBC is Palm Beach County's emergency alert notification system. This is different than those notifications you get on your phone when there's like an Amber Alert or sometimes it's severe weather that'll pop off also. With Alert PBC, you can actually sign up to receive notifications through telephone call, text message, or an email. You can sign up to receive whatever alerts you want to get. I have mine set up for just about everything except, I think, flood watches. I think that's the only thing that I don't have mine set for. But if you're saying, you know what, I don't need to worry about severe thunderstorm watches, I stay inside anyways and I can see the clouds, you don't have to sign up for that. But you can also sign up for things like police activity in the area. Sometimes they'll put out an alert notification for a missing person, such as a little child. We had this happen in West Palm Beach a couple years ago. Little, I don't know, he was 8 or 9 years old, wandered away from home, and he was gone for a while. Alert PBC was used, and within just a matter of an hour or so, he was found. Was that because of Alert PBC? I like to think so. I like to think that the community jumped in there and was able to say, hey, he looks familiar. That's the one that we're supposed to be looking for. You can also choose to receive notifications on a multitude of locations. I have mine set up for my office, for my home, my wife's place of business, when he was in high school, my stepson's high school, and my mom and dad's house. Why my mom and dad's? Well, here again, they're not very technically savvy. So maybe they don't have their phones nearby them. Maybe they don't have the TV on when there's a weather situation happening, like a tornado watch. I will get the notification on my phone. I can call them on their phone and say, Mom, something's coming, go take shelter. So it's just an added extra protection for your family and your friends. And you can also choose what time of day you wish to receive notifications. Now, by default, we won't send notifications out between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We won't send them out. But some people are, go to bed early. Some people are like, hey, I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock. You can set this so that you don't get notifications after 7:30 if you wish. As I said, you'll get notifications for severe weather, flooding, maybe gas leaks, police activity, and a lot more. It's a valuable program, and it's super easy to sign up. You just go to alertpbc.com, and you just put your information in. Your information is 100% safe and secure. We don't sell that information. We don't do anything else with it but protect you. On the table in the back, I do have some flyers and some like those eyeglass wipes in the plastic bags about Alert PBC. So please feel free to take as much of that and sign up. So how many people are going to sign up for Alert PBC now? All right. Being informed also means listening to your local media. But what happens if cable goes out? Most of us have cable. What happens if that goes out? Well, if you go to most electronic stores and get one of these little guys right here, it's an indoor TV antenna. Put this somewhere in the house, plug it into your TV. You have to do a couple of little changes on the TV, on the settings. When you do a scan, you will actually receive all of your local channels for free. So if cable's out, channel 12, channel 5, channel 25, you'll be able to get on this, plus PBS. And let's face it, what's on PBS? What's that? Okay. She said masterpiece. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was going somewhere else with that. I was thinking stuff with the kids. Remember when I said earlier about the kids? But yeah, channels. So our DART app, this is our disaster awareness and recovery tool. This is a fantastic app that you can download for your phone on both Android and Apple. And this is going to help you both plan and prepare for emergencies. And it will also help you report damage. We're going to talk about those. Planning and preparing. So you can put your address in. I put the EOC in this example, and you can see what shelters are open. You'll be able to see your evacuation zones. Make a plan, build a kit, and get involved. Some of the same stuff that I've just talked about this afternoon will also be available on there. So if you can't remember what I said, you can go on there and find it there too. This is an example of those evacuation zones that we were talking about. Evacuation Zone A, some of that like mobile homes and things like that. And then this is Evacuation Zone B along the Barrier Island, like Manalapan and South Palm Beach and that. This will also help you know where you can go to get supplies, whether it's gas for your generator, building supplies, groceries, or gas for your car. List of grocery stores, open gas stations are all going to be on here as well. One thing I do encourage, just to be safe, call a gas station or the store, make sure that they are in fact open. Lastly on this, you can report damage to us. Why is this important? Again, this is where community, the public helps us. When you go to this app and you're driving around and you see, oh, that house right there has some damage, I'm going to report it. You go ahead and go to this app and you report it like this, and this is fed to us at the EOC. The more of this information we get, the more we know where we need to kind of focus some recovery attention. So it's a great app for that. You can do this for both homes and businesses. And it'll give you an idea of like, you can report moderate damage, high damage, or something extensive. Lastly, following us on social media. We are on, how many in here are on social media? Cool. So we are on Facebook, Palm Beach County Division of Emergency Management. We're on Twitter at PBCDEM. And recently, we're on Instagram at PBC_DEM. And of course, there's always our website at readypbc.com. Now, our website has a lot of information. It has all of this information that I'm sharing today, plus so much more. That Know Your Zone, that tool, you can go on that and tell your friends, hey, if somebody lives over in Manalapan, you can type in your address and see what zone you're living in. It's great information to help them. That is my last slide, so at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions from you folks. Yes, ma'am. Sorry?
I was gonna bring something to show that's fabulous.
Well, what to do with them?
I was gonna bring something to show.
I mean, look, you can put them in the garage. You have no garage, okay. Well, that's a good one. Hopefully, they didn't ever ask me that one. You have a lot of cars that are going to park next to each other, so this far inland, I mean, to get winds that are going to really topple cars and stuff, again, a lot of that you see on the news and stuff really comes from that storm surge. But there again, it's make sure it's important that you have your insurance, and pictures of the car and everything, just in case. Anyone else have a question? Okay, awesome. Oh, I see you back there.
This isn't a question, it's a statement, and I don't know if it's accurate. I've been living here since I'm 11 years old. I've been through every hurricane, and I've been through Andrew and worked through Andrew. How long, I think a lot of people will like to know this, how long, if you keep your refrigerator door closed, how long will that remain to take care of your food?
So her question is, if you keep the refrigerator closed, how long will the food stay safe? As long as as long as you can keep it cold. And there's some things that you can do to keep your food cold. Buying bags of ice, or even just buckets of ice. You know, when you finish a carton of milk, fill it with water. It's great for ice, and when the ice melts, you also have something to drink. By placing a bunch of that inside the fridge and the freezer, that'll definitely help keep your food lasting a little bit longer. I know there's science behind it. I don't know what the exact number is. It kind of depends on like the food. It depends on temperature. There's a lot of variables there. But the best thing I can suggest is keep it as cold as you can.
Are there many hurricanes in June here?
Historically, are there many hurricanes in June? I don't know the exact numbers. And it's hard to go by history too, because you just never know. I mean, like I said at the beginning, we wouldn't expect to see a little thing brewing up in January in the North Atlantic. Yes, it can happen. I mean, you can get tropical storms at any time. And remember what I said, tropical storms are just as, we want to plan just as much for them. God bless you. Yes, sir.
Generally speaking, how long after the storm is out of power outages?
You mean like power outages? This question was generally after a storm, how long is power usually out? Again, that depends on the power grid. It depends on FPL. I can tell you that FPL has done remarkable work in fortifying and strengthening the power grid. They have their own emergency operations center, and they have somebody in ours. So we're in constant communication. We're constantly saying, hey, Glen Eagles Country Club is out. Let's get somebody there so we can get power going as fast as possible. I think with Irma, I think I was without power for a couple of days. No, it wasn't even that, it was maybe a day. So it really depends, but I mean, again, I applaud FPL for the hard work that they've done to make sure that 3-week thing that happened in 2004, yeah. Yes, ma'am. How long is the hurricane season usually? So hurricane season starts June 1st and it ends November 30th. So about 6 months. And does anyone know when the peak of the season is? September. Well, you said September, October, so you're right on both accounts. September is considered the peak of the actual hurricane season, the North Atlantic hurricane season, but October is actually South Florida's second peak, if you will. That's usually when we see more hurricanes or tropical storms develop in South Florida will be in October. Statistically, yes. Yes. Because by then, the Atlantic is kind of cooling down, the water's starting to cool down, but in the Caribbean, that water's still warm enough to kick things up, yeah. Any other questions for me? Yes, sir.
Prediction this year for the number of storms.
27.
I'd have to look it up. I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say it's around, I think they said around 9 storms, 3 major, being hurricane. They are calling for it to be an active season again this year. Any other last questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
If I go away in September of that time, how can I prepare my house? For instance, I have hurricane windows across the back.
Okay.
It's the whole back, the whole window. But I do have a couple windows that are not hurricane windows. Should I board them up? Make sure that they're not broken?
That's a good question. So she's asking if she goes out of town, you go north for the winter?
Well, I go, to September.
Okay. So when she's gone for a long period of time, how does she prepare the house during hurricane season? I would, the best thing you can do on that is I wouldn't put those shutters up or boards on any windows while you're gone. No, I would not, because if something happens inside the house, for example, if a fire were to start, the fire department can't get in. But what you can do is trust one of your neighbors.
Well, the key is at security, so they can always get in.
Okay,
We always leave a key at security.
okay.
So they're able to get in.
Yeah, and you can do that, but I would also suggest, getting to know one of your neighbors and saying, hey, just before a storm comes, would you mind throwing my shutters up real quick? A lot of people will do that to help you out, especially if you've only got 1 or 2 windows. It sounds like you need to have cover. Yes, ma'am.
Typically, a hurricane door opens out. A friend of mine said that she just ordered the door that goes in. Is that, did you hear about that?
A hurricane door that opens inwards?
Yes, is there any new innovation or?
Yeah, it should be. I would think it would be the other way around. I've never heard of it. Well, first of all, when I first moved to Florida, I could not figure out why it was.
We actually talked to a hurricane company. They do make a hurricane ready door. Palm Beach County Building Department will accept it. There is a Class A door that will open in. It's a much beefier door. It is possible. So don't be fooled by like picture. The official word is it is possible.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a new innovation. Thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for an excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Folks, I left some things over on the table for you. Please feel free to help yourself. Some hurricane tracking maps and some other great information. And thank you again for your attention, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hey, Lois. Did you come late? I never saw you. No, I think she's nervous. I don't know. I thought she was going to be. I have the carpet clean, and I don't know. She just seems to be at the carpet. I'm not willing to see my furniture. Everybody's very good. $210. So, I don't know, she's a little shell-shocked. There's a lot of activity in the house. I know.
I'm calling you dirty stuff, that kind of stuff. So I don't know, just, I went to Costco. I had to get the lifeline set up, I had to get the phone set up, I had to get, I mean, it's been nonstop, security access, this has been nonstop, it's great, it was great. So I woke up late, 1:30, and gave her a muffin, and then this is what I got the sweatshirt, she just, and then the steam packet, so it's just kind of she works with now, so I said, Mom, I said, tinkle, that's why so, and then I came up with the room had it moved her, I mean, and then I had to do the yellow, and then the yellow one was all over, the yellow one was fine, so he came, I called this morning, and they said they can be here this afternoon, I'm like, great, because my stuff can be delivered anytime between this Friday and next Tuesday. So, if you're in my bed, and all that stuff. So what would you do? Well, she did it, yeah, because I wanted to do it. She, and then I'm thinking, oh, she was in that. She said, you know, people come, and then she also uses a bathroom a lot, and I don't want to use the bathrooms, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to be yeah, I found everything. Thank you. Yeah, I knew that you had to happen. I found, yeah, it was rooms to go. Okay, and so I knew that you had to happen. Yes, so I have, I want to make sure that it would fit. So anyway, I have, because I also want to
Folks, real quick, they're handing out a little evaluation form. If you could fill it out and just drop that in the mail, I would appreciate it. It gives me an idea of how well I did.
yeah, so,
If you like it, if you didn't like
so
it,
my
send it in.
furniture, my car's not coming till about the 9th and 10th of June. And then I have my house car. And that's only the kitchen stuff and the fragile stuff. You get rid of a lot of the old stuff. No, so that's I just looked up. I know that that's the kind of stuff I do. It's good that you have a stroke. Right. That's not stuff you wear. I don't have any fine. You just, yeah. The place hasn't been nothing since 27 years. So that's what I mean. I yeah. No, I gotta go. You know, so I've been emptying the kitchen. And she's 6. She sees all. So it's all going great. We use all the house like that, right? So I have a power washing machine. We have this I'm on this community and how I have nothing. Yeah. Anyway, so a guy's coming tomorrow and another guy came over. He must be looking over the truck or above or on the side. He said, the guy's coming tomorrow. So, and I would do the whole walkway, the whole, yeah, the driveway. Right.
Which she knows. There's no privacy. Oh, so you see her bare walls. Those are like
No,
90%.
it's in the front, it's in the front. Well, the side, where it's like right where the garage is that way.
So what they're talking about is the garage door, it's talking down here. Well, those bushes are like that dead. Well, maybe
That if her or the house. There's no privacy now.
That's, you go down the back of the house.
I know, it's no, I mean, her place is right there.
Well, they have their, but I'll talk to you in a few minutes. I'm back. You know my friend that lives across the street from the house? I told you. She's up in Connecticut. She just
You live in this high rise?
Yeah, mid-rise.
Yeah, I live in,
The house right opposite you. I said, my dear friend lives there, and now she sold her house, and now is coming down with her mother who's lived there forever. This is
Everything started out.
Althea Lawrence. My mother was Eliana, was very 92-year-old.
no, almost 95.
Didn't I just make a little party?
Almost 95. So, anyway, I live in a house.
Right opposite you. Right opposite you. It was a red car that you may or may not see sometimes.
Well, now you'll see a lot because we're moving.
Right. And this is my extra friend. Their husband and wife. Yes, this is the lady I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
This is Bobby Butler. And her husband.
So you know where you live?
Yes. But I don't know.
Well, her father gave her.
Oh, really? Oh, was that the one that she stayed with?
Yes.
So basically, I think that's what you get to the sidewalk.
I didn't know that.
Well, because sometimes like the afternoon, I take her.
And you take your dog to the pool.
So ask them.
In the pool.
Her dog, Nikki, and, yeah.
What you brought
Oh, I don't know. I'm not gonna be around at all.
So we take care.
Oh, good, thank God.
No, she's not gonna be around. First of all,
I'm not gonna be around.
you're gonna be on the tennis court.
Not late in the afternoon.
I should have been there.
There's no tennis, I just called, I thought they had a tennis on Sunday. Well, I'm signed up for the Memorial Day weekend, but I might go down there. What's that? Are they?
Not so fancy.
I don't know if they're fancy, but
Not fancy.
it's like the players are like little fancy players.
Yeah,
But they have clinics and everything. You can sign up for.
Her mother used to volunteer.
Did she?
What you did?
When they had the tournaments.
Nice, that's nice. You are pros, nice. I can believe that.
Her mother is 97, straight as an arrow, doesn't have anything wrong with her.
What does she do?
She's gonna be living with me.
I'm living with my mother. We should get together. We're both crazy. But you two are together, so you have to, so you're gonna live with your mother-in-law? See, I'm widow. My husband never would have. He would be like, you're moving to Florida with your mother? He's upstairs looking at me and saying, Althea, you're crazy. So wait a minute, we gotta talk.
But her mother's, her mother and your mother aren't in the same league.
Her mother
It's like an old me with a big mouth.
How old is she?
97.
And she's moving in with you?
And she's this tall,
We gotta
straight like
talk
an arrow.
about it.
She's nothing like your mother.
You have a whole different world.
She doesn't even take meds.
No, my mother's pretty confident, but still, I'm getting help because I'm not gonna be.
I have full-time help.
I'm not. You have room in your apartment? I have to live here.
These are day home.
She has somebody who comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning and leaves at 5.
Okay, but you have room in where your apartment is?
Well,
You're
we
a
have
good
two
guy.
bedrooms.
You let your mother
He's a
know.
saint.
You're a good, my husband, he's upstairs with Althea. I kind of about myself, but she's in one side of the suite.
The house is very big.
It's big.
I know that house.
Okay, yeah, so she's, you know, but I have things to figure out. I'm going on a cruise for last of it, wasn't on July 9th.
Oh, we're going.
August, we going? Oceana? Oh, Oceana. Well, I'll tell you about mine and then you can maybe sign up for the excursions. So, anyway, I need someone for a week of coverage. I have some names if you're person.
I have all those people.
Okay.
You know that.
Because
Women
my
that took care
brother's
of
food
food
on
on
the
it.
coverage, so my niece is doing the work. So, but we should talk, because
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I'd like to know how you manage it. You know, I mean, you're married, but
At the moment,
Yeah,
you just don't hear from.
he is, he's a safe floor.
We're hoping she's fall.
You have to understand.
no, because I'm starting a new life, and I've lived with my 94 and in January, we had a workout. I didn't have caregivers here, neighbors, I did. But just to take her out, like, I'm not gonna be her maid every night.
Well, you see, and that's a conversation I had to her mother.
Okay.
I said, I'm not gonna be, you know, your nurse,
Social activity.
and I'm not gonna be, your entertainer.
Okay.
And
Where's she coming from?
she's been here for like 25 years. And then all of her friends died. But anyway, so,
I'm keeping you away from her, I promised her. She told me to keep you away.
yeah. So now she's at the
What's that, a continuum of care?
independent.
Yeah, okay. Oh, so you're doing the same thing I'm doing. My mother, I brought her up north. She was in a nice community in Independent. And then my husband passed away. I retired. We came here for a month and I'm like, what am I doing up here? So we're doing the same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
So she's coming back.
So you're in the midst of an adjustment like me. I can't
A
believe
major,
it.
major
No, 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 no.
adjustment because we
You
just,
know what his name is?
Tell
Everybody what I call him.
she calls him King.
I have never, you know, I've been around a lot of men. I've been looking.
Is he modest?
You know,